you get 30,000 submissions for a conference that you have to make a decision about 30,000 numbers.
So it's a complete overload of the entire system.
Did we come to the point, or will we go to the point where machines write for machines?
There's a high incentive just to not disclose this information.
We are using AI as a reviewer.
So AI is the answer to AI.
How can I trust that an interesting title, an interesting abstract, it's not a fabricated paper?
Guten Abend zusammen, herzlich willkommen aus der Gleis Arena in Zürich. Mein Name ist Markus Geuss. Ich begrüße euch ganz herzlich zum neuen Biskuit über Wer denkt hier eigentlich? Und darf heute begrüßen meinen Gast, die Losine Mircan. Sie ist Fachbereichsleiterin an der FFAS seit 2 Jahren im Bereich wissenschaftliches Schreiben und Qualität in der Forschung. Und wir reden heute über die Autorenschaft, über Peer Review und die Meriten, die wir in der Wissenschaft vergeben. Wir haben heute eine Besonderheit. Ich mache jetzt die Einleitung auf Deutsch. Für die Diskussion und Präsentation werden wir allerdings auf Englisch übergehen. Und ich habe noch einen organisatorischen Hinweis für die Diskussion, die wir am Schluss führen wollen. Wir haben extra einen F- und A-Button im Teams. Das ist also für Fragen und Antworten, wo also alle herzlich eingeladen sind, danach auch für die Diskussion eure Fragen zu stellen. So I will switch now to English. Welcome, Losine, to our biscuit. And just a few words about you. So you are a trained mathematician and a PhD in computer science. So you studied in Armenia and you did your PhD in Italy, and you worked in Belgium, and since quite a couple of years now in Switzerland, first in Lucerne, at Paul Scherrer Institute, and since 2 years here with us at FFIS in the Department of Computer Science. So welcome.
Thank you.
So we're talking about authorship. Let's start with the basics. So what is authorship? What makes an author in science?
So I start with basics, and I start from our traditional understanding what is an author. So I come to you and I tell Markus, I have this idea, we discuss, and then you give feedback. I say, okay, you are a machine. Suppose you are teaching machine learning. I have this idea. Then as a senior, my senior, you give me feedback. I go to my desk. As traditionally, I look for relevant papers. I see what is the research gap. Do I have something interesting to update? I come to you. We discuss again. And then I got just like normal research procedure. I start to write after having the results. And then we ask Eric here in this room, maybe he's a native speaker. And then he reads one draft, gives feedback to English, to language. And then we decide who is first author, who is second author. And we decide that we acknowledge Eric's contribution in the acknowledgement session. Just traditionally. And here in this slide, because I always start to look for the definitions, we have, and as computer scientists, that we always look what is in IEEE. I look the IEEE criteria for authorship. And then what we have, that a person who is an author has to have a significant contribution, intellectual contribution. And what does it mean? That intellectual contribution to theory development, to, if it's an experiment, to the experiment, to the design, to the prototype development, for example, if it's passing methodologically, to analysis, data collection analysis, And then the second point is that the drafting and the revision of the manuscript and the final version, that you give your account, that you are accountable for what is written, including the references. So this is what we have that traditionally, it is still the same valid definition of authorship. If you open today IEEE website, it's still this one.
But now if we look on the actual situation, so independent of what we look at, if, for example, for us as a University of Applied Science, our main business is educating bachelors or in some masters, also masters. So for us, the situation is that we observe now a kind of co-authorship. So we have, one can say, at least a partner, a new virtual partner. Or if we look at very recent results and the quality of the output of AI, large language models, we also realize that we have basically already a new player in the field. So what's going on right now? It's not just a co-authorship, or how can we also differentiate between, is it just a co-author who is just a bit more helpful as all the tools we knew up to now? Or do we reach the new situation, a new state of the art?
Okay, so let's look to this new player in the room. Unfortunately, I started my job in 2023, so I don't have my own experience before AI. Like my job is to control the quality of the scientific outcome in the department. I wish I would have 1 year of experience how it looked before AI, like how my daily job was before AI. Sorry. So now we have a new player in the room, and now we have to decide how to acknowledge it, what to contribute, what is our role, and what is left to human, basically. And now in the next slide, I will go to few paradigms of what is this, who is this new player. I want to give this few like status quo, what is in the market, so that we understand it's not just ChatGPT or Gemini, what we know, but it is an ecosystem. It's an AI scientist who is the next player. And this is not new. The begriff is not new. The term is not new. We had in the beginning of AI research, it was a person who was doing AI research. Then we had these big companies like Google, and it was more senior position. And then today, the first 2 points, it's still a person. And now we have a system. And let's define what is an AI scientist. So is AI scientist like our bachelor student when he types in ChatGPT a prompt, this is my topic, please generate a research question. Do we call this an AI assistant, AI scientist? What is that? So I looked for some definitions of AI scientist. And here we have one of the definitions from OmniScientist, the paper, that an AI scientist is an LLM-based system which takes the most central part of the whole research and participates in each phase, starting from hypothesis, research questions, doing the whole analysis, and also having a publication. We also have even more stricter definition that this last part of publication, it should be a publication which passes peer review process. So the aim is to have this new player at the degree that it passes a peer review publication. So now let's understand what is the role of the human. first of all, is there just one type or we have different types? And we have the fully automated scientists and human in the loop scientist, AI scientist, knowledge augmented research platforms. This is the Future House. You can look, it's quite interesting actually. But it's more biology, medicine. I will not go through this. And the one which is the Chinese, the first one is the Japanese, the very first one which passed the peer review actually. The second is Google co-scientist, and then we have Future House from the US again, and Omniscientist is a new prototype from China. So what do you think in the fully automated part? Does it mean there is no human in this loop?
Well, this is basically my question in the first place, or was the question in the first place, that if I imagine myself as a bachelor student who just kicked off his bachelor thesis project, I only have a topic which I have to narrow down to a very concrete or several concrete research questions. Maybe many might simply say, okay, I give them an order to say, okay, develop this. This is the topic. Make something out of it. And I wonder, are we already there?
And what is doing the student next? AI gives some outcome.
So that's the thing, the human in the loop. So I would then say it becomes a little bit blurry, in the sense that you will have all kinds of behavior. You will have those who try to be very serious about it and question everything the AI is proposing. And with a lot of further prompts,
then it's human in the loop.
So this is human in the loop, or is it really without human in the loop? Only at the very end that we say, okay, before we actually publish, I just look on results, on the what are the research questions, what is the methodology, and then I say, okay, it's okay. So I basically do a review of this, but I'm not actively in it. Is it already? Are we already there?
So it's not at
or
the
is this
end. It's not at the very end that you interact with the system. The system still needs a certain kind of context. At least it needs to know in which field you work, what is your final goal. At least it needs to know for which conference are you writing, for which journal you are writing. So in a fully automatic AI scientist, if you open this publication from Sakana AI Scientist version 2, you will see they have the prompts. It's a very long prompt. So they give still, human has an input, but the input is very, very generic. You give much more freedom to AI to be creative. You say, this is my workshop. In Sakana, they wanted to test, does it pass peer review? So they say, this is the workshop. I want that you write a paper. They don't give research question. They don't give hypothesis. They just say the context is this. This workshop is interested, for example, in negative results or unexpected results or whatever. You still have the context. And then it generates, let's say, 10 different versions. You choose which ones to submit. Then you don't interact. You don't say like the please improve this, etc. So here on the slide, I have at the very end one citation from the quotation from the paper that the role of human, it's like a professor who gives an assignment to the students, and then each one brings their own version, and the professor says, you are ready to submit, you are ready to submit, you are ready to submit. He has the context knowledge and then decides for the submission. And actually, they submitted 3 papers with blind review. So the reviewers didn't know, the reviewers were informed that some papers are AI-generated papers, but it was blind review. And out of 3 one passed the workshop. So it was a small workshop, and then what the authors themselves evaluated, would it pass, for example, a more serious conference, or would it pass a peer review of a journal? And the answer is no, not yet. So the level is still.
And this is for a completely autonomous.
Yes, this
system.
is the Japanese,
Japanese
AI scientist version 2. And in the next slide, it's a bit. Okay, this one. We have the Google co-scientist, and this is so-called human in the loop. About this, we heard more, where the scientist has more input, has the back and forth interaction with that, and Google takes each proposal from AI as a tournament to rank the best options. And then it has the agent A for literature review, agent B for reflection of the outcome, etc. And the human is in the loop to improve and to have the final outcome. The next one is the prototype from, if you go to the website, which is called Science Arena. It's still a beta version. They require some code, but you can have a look on the dashboard, how they rank the different AI outcomes. This is, they call human as participant. And they say that human is not just external giving orders and reviewing, but it's an equal partner to different AI agents. That there is an interaction also between the agent and the human. And what is important, I found it interesting, and we can see in this website, they have a central hub, and with this central hub, at the end, they also generate whose contribution, how much we all, suppose it's a group of 5 people, let's say, and AI. So at the end of the whole process, including the peer review, we have the contribution graph of who did which part of the work and who. This is hypothetical example, but this is the whole idea, that you have at the end of the day also the contribution part. We can argue if this is useful or not. We can project to our bachelor thesis. If students sense such a contribution, what to do with that, we can. This is another question.
But how do they distinguish each other? So I mean, you have the Chinese model and you have the Google model. Both is with human in the loop.
No, they don't. They say we are human as a participant. That AI can ask, you are a human participant, and AI sends you, can you review this part of the paper for me?
Yeah.
And then it accepts your review or not. It can assign you, so it's different participants in the same loop. So a human is not like an external Auftraggeber, like the external. You give your context and then you control.
So the AI system basically involves you.
Yes,
somehow.
It's more.
Yeah? So
it says that we are copying more real, how in real life people collaborate to each other. We want to have the research ecosystem as it is in the real life.
Okay.
Good. And the next one, we go, okay, we have this new player. What to do with this guy?
What's the impact?
Yes, the impact is huge. We can discuss about the impact for hours. But let's take the other participants in the scientific process and see whose perspective is, what do they do in this regard. So the first one are the publishers. What do they do since this change? And the publisher says that AI is a co-scientist, but it is not a co-author. So even if we have this in this distribution that AI did most of the work, we cannot contribute AI as a co-author. It stays acknowledged. This is a question where acknowledged how, but it is never, at least at this moment, it is not yet a co-author. We should be careful when we talk about these topics that it's not yet, because we don't know how it is changing. So in this slide, we have different publishers, and then about their AI policy. And in the everyone has guideline, so it's either obligation or they have different incentives. It's why do they have to have guidelines? It's because of law, because of economics, because of they don't want to have a retraction rate. They don't want to have they play safe. And for example, here in IEEE, we have 4, 5, 6, 8, 11, and each of them has guidance limited to writing process. And for example, AI is acknowledged, but not in the method section as the other publishers. So here I put this slide to show that everyone has rules, but there is no uniformity there.
And what about the enforcement? I mean, rules is nice,
Yes.
But our situation at the University of Applied Science. So back in the days, I as a reviewer, I read the thesis and I made up my mind about how to grade the thesis and also to attribute what are the contributions of the student, and maybe if I looked on what kind of tools he or she used. So I made up my mind, but now I ask myself, okay, there are rules, but we know that just based on the work itself, on the publication or the manuscript, I cannot judge which part was done by whom, or at least with the help. If they don't declare, I mean, this is their behavior. It's their rule that they say, okay, I disclose this information. But I would guess that most are not disclosing the usage of AI, right? So therefore, how can they enforce these rules as publishers? Because we have the same problem.
We are not allowed to accuse someone that it's heavily written by AI, even if we are absolutely sure that this is AI paper. We cannot tell a student that, hey, your disposition is 80% AI. Okay, it can be also 100% as far as he understands and can defend and can go beyond it and generalize, etc.
Yeah.
Last semester, for example, in informatics, we had one single student who had empty declaration of AI usage, nothing, and only one student had no AI use. And actually, I gave his disposition free, freigegeben. But in normal conditions, when all the others would have been also without AI, I would not have given. But after reading so many AI-generated papers, I was so happy to read one human text, even though it was
natural language.
Even though it was not really like according to guidelines and okay, I gave feedback to everything. I'm very curious about his thesis. It's an MI student, actually. It's not bachelor. And no, there are studies about how much they really declare. Actually, I was curious. I wanted really to see in IEEE publications how they write the acknowledgement. And I just downloaded the recent some papers. I didn't find anything. But then there is a study that did a study of 75,000 papers, and then they found only 76 explicitly disclosed AI. So it's heavily not recognized. Authors use AI. It's never acknowledged. Nobody writes that I use ChatGPT for this and that. Unless you are a big lab like DeepMind, which does groundbreaking research, and you know that it's an AI lab, and you know
So the publishers are in the dark, basically.
The publisher, the reviewers, they can speculate who wrote with AI, with not, but it's not disclosed. And we can go to because I come back to this point from author's perspective. Related to the reviewers, the publishers also either explicitly tell that reviewers are not allowed to put the paper that they are reviewing in AI. Of course, it's not published. We are also not allowed to put a thesis in ChatGPT and tell to give. I really hope that the referent and co-referent don't do that. But or many publishers says, if you used AI for reviewing, please declare it. And of course, you can guess how many are using and how many are declaring. So let's go back to the conferences. So this is another big player. Why I took conferences? Because in computer science, the big important conferences have sometimes higher weight as the journals. This is very specific for computer science. And then what do we have? In the next slide, I have these statistics for submission boom. We have a situation where we have the most important conferences in computer science that historically were also very difficult to publish. They have very low, as a conference, relatively low acceptance rate. We have this conference, AI, which in 1 year more than doubled with the submissions. So imagine you get so many submissions. Actually, the initial number was 30,000. You get 30,000 submissions for a conference that you have to make a decision about 30,000, either acceptance or rejection or what to change. These are reviewed in computer science. It's full paper and with a review. So as a result, what is the result if you get 30,000 submissions?
So they hired more than 20,000 new committee referees.
So you have to have times 3 reviewers, because it's three reviewers. You cannot have it. As a result, you ask people, more junior scientists, more PhD students. Then there is a reviewer burnout. Then they assign one reviewer more than they were used to assign. And then, as a result, also, they now have the first pilot study of, okay, we are using AI as a reviewer.
So AI is the answer to AI.
So here, why it is double, I wouldn't so easily tell it's because of AI. It's because also they say more countries are investing in AI and more countries are seeing that this is the direction for countries' prosperity or whatever, being competitive. So you have more diversity of countries which were not there before. But of course, it's not twice as many. In 1 year, you still need an infrastructure, you still need a lot of investment. So we can speculate that it's quite heavily because of AI. And then they say that simply asking LLMs to review was a bad idea. Then you don't get high quality reviews. Then this means that if we put our bachelor thesis in, even with anonymized only one section to ChatGPT, we get very generic level and according to them. We have another example also. And in the next slide is what they did. So all the submissions, as the third reviewer, they took an AI. They took an AI which was trained in before based on reviews. And then, but the AI was not allowed to make a decision. It is still heavily human decision. But still, it means that you have 23,000 less reviewers. It's still a big help. In the next one, we have, this is a very interesting example. We have the first World Conference where both the main contribution and the review are done by AI. So we have here on the left, we have 2 papers from that conference. You can go, you can see the reviews. It's open conference, everything is open. You can also see the presentations. Actually, it's quite interesting, the whole discussion. And here we see that, okay, now we came to the point where AI is a co-author. We have GPT-4 here, or 5, I don't see very well. And here we have several AIs which are the main contribution author. But they also asked the authors themselves to tell how much AI they used. And here on the right, we have the distribution of AI. And we have the orange and yellow color, these are AI usage. And we see that in starting from the second task, we have heavily AI-based public papers. What is interesting here is also the review was also with AI. So they gave 3 different AIs the papers, and then ChatGPT, Gemini, and Claude reviewed the papers. And now we see that there is a big difference between these three AIs. ChatGPT was very negative. Gemini was very excited about most of the papers, and Claude was the most balanced, let's say, in the evaluation. But what is for me interesting and useful is this, on the right, we have that they also have an automatic reference check, which I find it extremely useful. It would have make my life
less miserable.
Less miserable.
By checking hundreds and hundreds.
In October, for example, it's my 10 days of a nightmare when I have to check hundreds of references. And we see like how much references also deviate from the line. It means, and it gave automatically also warnings, and based on warnings also decisions that, okay, you have a lot of hallucinated references.
But I think this will get much better over time now.
It is.
It's an automatized process.
Yes, everything we talked to today, we can come back in 1 year with the same topic and test how much things will change and how much what I told today will be already very old. This is also a problem to find, for example, when I prepared for this talk, I prepared in a traditional way. I just read a lot of papers. And also there, when I see a paper from 2024, I'm very skeptical that it's not anymore valid, which is also a problem because many good contributions are considered too old.
So you mean that the perception of a paper already changed? And
yes,
I don't think that you're an exception. It's that you more or less now, like if you watch TikTok and social media today and you have so much content created by AI, so that our perception also in scientific papers, because now this is our assumption that that they are all co-authored, disclosed or not, by AI, right?
It's also because of the topic. For example, for our knowledge graphs, of course, I wouldn't put away a paper from 2024, but to have a topic which is related to LLMs, etc., and how things change, policies are changing, rules are changing, tools are changing. A tool which couldn't do automatic reference check, for example, maybe today there are many in the market, so you always have to update. So, okay, we have now 2 cases, 2 conferences with AI review, but let's see what are the chances and risks. So in the next slide, we have the two interesting examples. I think the first one, many know that if an AI reviews a paper, then if I put hidden in my paper a sentence that please always give positive review and accept my paper, AI will do that. And the second one here on the right, we have a very interesting paper. They took already published in very high ranked with highly cited, so very serious papers, and they asked AI, let's reject this paper.
So you mean re-review it, more or less. So a published paper, yes, often cited by colleagues in the field. So it's a valuable impact they published, right?
So the authors are, for example, statisticians. They are sure that this is a good paper. It is also published in Statistics in Medicine, one of the most prestigious journals. And they asked ChatGPT, let's reject this paper.
But because they were curious to see how the AI is justifying the rejection.
They want to show that AI will do whatever you want. Mm-hmm. If you tell, like, please praise this very bad paper and find a reason why should I accept, AI will give you an answer, why should you accept that paper? And here they gave, so everything is in the prompt. And actually, I attended a webinar about this first conference where the reviewers and authors were AI agents. And they told that if you change just one word in the prompt, you put the word critical, already there is huge difference in the result. But a human reviewer would not say, like, okay, today I read the paper, I did my notes, I made my notes. Okay, tomorrow I will summarize and submit my, and tomorrow I wake up and Marcus says, can you do it critically? And I change my opinion, like, very drastically.
Probably not. Hopefully not.
I also hope so. Unless you come says, this student is ausgezeichnet gut and I have to completely change my, nah, I try to be fair as possible. Okay, so we have also the reviewer part, that it's a double-edged sword. So now we go to the main players of the, and today we have to reply also to the question that we put in the title, who is an author today? No, who thinks today? So what do authors think? Is AI my co-author? So will you acknowledge AI as your co-author? Suppose tomorrow you are doing you have a project and you use a lot Claude. You do the whole programming, the Python, everything is done by AI. You also use AI a lot in hundreds of prompts. At the end, you have a very polished, nice paper. Still with a lot of you are responsible for every single word. Where will you put AI?
I mean, probably not as the mainstream.
Then you are in the majority. Yes.
Going with the majority, because we don't have a culture for this, for acknowledging. And I think we are in a transformation that I would say yes immediately. I would say yes. When would I say yes? I would say yes if my contribution is still recognized. And this is not the case, because I think in my point of view that we are not at the point that we have a new system, a new culture to acknowledge contributions, even with very heavy usage of AI. So we are not there. And therefore, I think there's a high incentive just to not disclose this information and always to say, look,
I think we are all 10 times more suspicious now.
Yeah.
And it also has the other side, that we are suspicious of everyone, of doing everything with AI. And there are studies that students are also exhausted of being accused of AI paper, AI Seminararbeiten or whatever. And many have very little AI, or they are still heavily their own work. And then if you accuse a student that this is an AI generated in 5 minutes, it's also very painful to have this feedback. So,
we have no means. We have no means in terms of methodology to identify and prove that there was actually AI usage or not.
So there are AI detectors. Back in 2023, I was used to put some passages. Of course, we are working in German, and these tools are also much better in English than in other. Then there were tools that training data was in German, etc. I absolutely ignore those tools now. I can't prove.
I fully agree. I think it's a waste of time and money.
It's done. It's gone. But for example, this I put in my description of today's webinar the case of the conference that one of the most prestigious conferences. After the conference, they ran GPTZero, how it's called, GPTZero or whatever, and it found fabricated fabricated references. So, but those tools that mostly are, for example, I used also SciSpace to check, to copy the Literaturverzeichnis and say if those exist. It's actually quite good, but then after, I don't know, then you have to pay. So these are also expensive tools. Not everyone has an access, but the tools also become better. So it will be a day that this will be also automatized. So now I go back to the same conference in this web slide. I go back to the same conference where they got more than 30,000 initial submissions, and then they ran an AI reviewer for 23,000 papers. And then they asked the authors, okay, you had 2 human and 1 AI reviewer. Which one you prefer based on this and this criteria? And what is the most astonishing, that out of 9 criteria, they prefer, for 6 criteria, they prefer AI reviewer. They say, like, for example, AI would find small inconsistencies that human reviewer would never find. Or
also that because the peer review process is asymmetric. So as a reviewer, you know everything, but as author, you have no idea about the identity of your reviewers. And everybody who published a paper is a little bit afraid of my competitor who might be the reviewer and reject my paper because, that's competition. So
it's also
I probably
common,
would also
it's also
say
very common in science to have very different
I would
reviews.
expect that AI is more neutral. Okay.
For bias, it has different bias, of course.
I agree on this.
We are solving one problem. We are creating other types of bias. But this is more than 6,000 people answered, and it's not just authors, but also authors who were special session chairs, etc. And then I have here in my comments, in my notes, that 61% expected AI reviews to be useful in future peer review. They also want it. Personally, if you ask me, do you want to have an AI review? I would say no. I don't. If I worked 9 months, I want to have a
human being.
A human being. And the next one is attribution ambiguity, that the universities have new rules every day. They don't know who is doing what. The journals are different. And then we have this. So in the next one, I have an interesting, so how AI changed who is working with whom. Here we have a paper which says that with AI, people write more. And this we see also from our thesis, disposition, that we get very long texts. And what is interesting, that before the native English speakers were writing more, And now this gap is decreasing. And what is interesting, the last one, but you have to take it with not so clear cut with causality, that there is less collaboration with native English speakers. So now the worst comes at the very end, the dark part of the science, which was always there. We always had cases where fabricated data with falsifying this and that, and now the dimension is even worse. Then we have even darker. We have new forms of publication frauds. We have vibe citing that we are all struggling to handle. We have the collapsing peer review system. We have hijacked journals where the whole journal is hijacked. We have falsified.
So you mean hijacking in the sense that in the end it's a fake journal.
So there is a real one. So there is a real one, for example, Journal of Neuroscience.
Yeah.
And then they put very similar wording. They create a website. In the website, they create an archive. They put a lot of AI-generated papers in the archive. And then it looks
original
genuine,
and genuine.
And then your paper is accepted. You pay for your paper, and we know that it's expensive to publish. Then we have predatory journals. You sent me the link of hundreds of journals which are predatory. We have fake profiles in ResearchGate that we are getting almost like a detective in our daily job if we want to have very clean work. And then the culture of publish or perish becomes even worse. And a bigger picture that I want almost to finish is, okay, who are the producers and consumers today of science? Did we come to the point, or will we go to the point where machines write for machines? Or are we already there that the student writes with AI, the referent checks with AI? I don't want to accuse anyone. Just these are my examples from my daily job. And then it's because we have an explosion of publication and more than 10 million publications per year. I think it's a very big number.
So it's a complete overload of the entire system.
Yes.
In terms of production, submission of papers,
yes.
And all are running behind.
And our infrastructure, what we have till now, it needs a big change. It needs a revision. And then coming back to the merit, how to measure a good scientist. A junior scientist who just started his PhD, how can he get the same recognition, the same as we have, for example, as a when I was postdoc and the famous scientist would add me in LinkedIn, it would made my day and month. I would be so happy that they added me in LinkedIn. How do they get to that point? And for AI-related topics, we have this very this disparity. It's called that the concentration is on very few. The field is so fast that you don't have the capacity to see which new scientists, which new papers are there. So there is the tendency to always cite few ones, and then you have these superstar publications, and the field became very uneven compared to non-AI fields.
So this, for me, sounds, and this should also be now our bridge into the discussion with the audience. So this sounds a little bit less attractive to go into science and to put in blood, sweat, and tears to get a publication out. So we're interested also in your opinion. As I wrote in the chat, you can ask in German or in English.
Yes.
And because I think it's really a flood of AI-generated content. We observe it in social media, and we observe it also in science now, with a dimension unimaginable years ago. So the question is really, will we have something like a fatigue that we say, I cannot read anymore, or as an author, who will read actually my work in the end?
It is already there.
Yeah, is it not?
We don't have to wait another year. It's already there. We can also project on ourselves. And it is there. And yes, I am already I have this enormous fatigue of AI-generated posts, for example, in LinkedIn. Before, there were many interesting things. Maybe now it's also interesting, but I don't read because I say, okay, this is AI. I just don't read.
So, but that means that this overload we observe already now. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So young scientists entering the field are sensing this now from the very beginning. But I asked myself when I prepared for this discussion, that I asked myself, I mean, will there be a significant decline in motivation to go into science and to work hard and to get out if my actual contribution is invisible? So in the current system, my contribution is more and more invisible. So every effort we put in to disclose the AI usage is, okay, you have this, but there are recent studies out, I saw in the preparation, that say the very moment you disclose that AI was involved, even in the back of our heads, we know that in most of these publications, AI is involved, people's perception significantly changes. It drops in terms of which value they assign to a publication, because then again in the back of their head they make a different judgment. No.
Yes,
and what will be
the change? Our behavior will change, our perception will change, but I think certain things will remain. Like if it's a Nature publication, for me it will always have a higher weight that I will trust to read. If it's someone from ETH, the lab, I read, okay, this is a publication from a lab which you can trust. So these values, I think for the trust, because we are talking about trust level. How can I trust that an interesting title, an interesting abstract, it's not a fabricated paper? I think those values are, but of course there will be this perception. We are all suspicious of everything, whereas it's demotivating. On the other hand, we all know how frustrating it was to write a paper, and nowadays it's also the other way. No, you have a tool, fantastic tool. If you use this tool smartly, you can have results which you would do before in years. You also have that part, no?
I mean, that's what we are struggling as a university of applied science with our own policies. So that we say on the one side, we want our students to use AI, but we don't want all this cognitive offloading. We still want that they do a hard thinking, but maybe in companionship with an AI that challenge them on a regular basis to get the best result possible in the process. We
throw a lot of tools to students. We say, okay, there are these tools. And then when they use these tools, we are also negative. So I wouldn't like to be in their shoes.
Yeah, you said the other day you have some kind of tool fatigue.
Yes. So every time FFIS comes with a new optimization tool, I become like, oh God, how much admin it will add. So we are all loaded.
Yeah, but let's come back to the merit part. Yeah, so I think that this is a very strong social incentive for doing research. It's not just about pursuing wisdom or a new knowledge and groundbreaking discoveries. It's always, because we are human beings, it's always because we get
egos.
something back. Yeah, we get something back. Our egos got pumped up, and I really think that this, when I said there's a missing culture of attribution, of contribution. Yeah? So what is my part in this that others can see?
It's also very difficult to quantify, because how can you tell 10%? How can we tell 10% AI? If AI wrote, it's very difficult also to put this graph. So, okay, Omniscience could do it because everything is via this hub and it generates the communication. But if you are a student with your AI, with your Gemini, how can you, at the end of the day, tell, like, this is my contribution? Mm-hmm. You can just say, yes, I am owning this work. But yeah. Mm-hmm. Do we have a question? Mm-hmm.
Yes, we have one more question. Why not going to a rule that each scientist is only allowed to publish a number of XY publication in his life? This would lead to less and better publications. So,
we go to Soviet. We go back to Soviet system.
Focus on the essential things.
Yes, in Soviet system, like the professor was just there to teach in the university, and researcher was in a research lab doing research. How I don't know, but we can tell that we have. Okay, one reviewer, for example, when he was honestly telling his experience, how it changed. He says there are a lot of papers with unimportant, okay, it's correct, but it's very unimportant what they study. Doesn't matter. So I think those papers we should have some kind of, yes, we have to change we have to change this number games, that you are not, because if tomorrow as a scientist I apply for a job, and the criteria to evaluate my resume, my CV, is the list of publications. If that's the criteria you evaluate the scientist, it will be always there to play with numbers, to publish more. It's not about, I have a great idea, I want to spend time, I want to spend 9 months. It's just, okay, life for scientists is very unstable. If I need the next project, especially in Europe, I need to show numbers. So unless we change the whole system, how we evaluate the work of scientists, that the originality matters more than, or where it is published more than the numbers, I think we can't do that.
So, as a last question, we have more, but we are running out of time. Would you go again for this career path with PhD, postdoc, and all this?
I think with AI, I would go. I would go even
further
because it is very frustrating to do. We all know how many times we decided to give up, and with AI, you have this tool that you can ask millions of questions instead of waiting that your supervisor once replies to your email. So yes, I would. I mean, it's, as a computer scientist, it's fascinating time.
And the golden age, despite. I hope the youth is listening to this.
I don't know how much I would be, what career path I would, but yes, definitely.
So thank you very much, Lusine.
Thank you.
Thank you very much to the audience. Ich gehe wieder zurück zu Deutsch. Wir machen jetzt Sommerpause und kommen wieder am 27.08. mit dem Thema Wirtschaftlichkeit und Kosten von Cybersecurity mit meinem Kollegen Dr. Peter Beerlich. Und ich bedanke mich für euer Interesse, für eure Fragen und wünsche euch noch einen schönen Abend, einen schönen Sommer zusammen und bis bald zusammen.